Imagine you are living in a world where you're being discriminated against or called names just because of your religion or what you even believe in. This is what Muslims have to go through every day of their life, all over the world, but especially in America. And to this, I posed a question: what causes people in America to have such negative and discriminatory views to Muslims while maintaining an unenlightened outlook on them? First, stated by Leila Abu Lughad, a professor of anthropology at the University of Columbia in New York, the search for information on Muslim women all across the world has been increasingly significant over the past century. Correlating with past events such as 9/11 has been leading to discriminatory and prejudiced actions toward these Muslims. In fact, there are roughly 1.6 billion Muslims practicing their religion all over the world. Most of them stationed in America, well, some of them being stationed in America, mostly in the Middle East. So to solve this issue of discrimination with Muslims, I looked at a wide range of perspectives and solutions, some of those being using the media to counteract Muslim discrimination and use it against all the discrimination that is being put out there. Or maybe even keeping Muslims out of America so there can be no possible conflict with Muslims or Americans. But what really needs to happen is Americans need to be more understanding and welcoming of each other's communities and not jump into negative conclusions with lack of information because of stuff like the media creating false perceptions and correlating Muslims with terrorism. Also, it has been shown that after 9/11, the effects of discrimination and hatred toward Muslims has been worse and worse. Negative media portrayals taking place all over the media, such as social media and news, creates racism, discrimination, stereotypes, myths, and even negative self-imagery for these Muslims themselves. When they're seeing hatred about their culture all over the internet, they feel bad and sad and distressed about themselves because they're knowing that so many people have hatred for them that it's not even their fault. Not only is this taking place just on major social media sites, but it's taking place on television, movies, video games, and major news outlets, such as even CNN, a very popular news outlet that most people know. Also, it has been shown that people correlate Muslims with terrorists, which is very discriminatory and prejudiced towards the Muslims. It has been shown that religious clothing, such as hijabs, that Muslims wear for their religion, is correlated with terrorism, which is wrong, because many other religions, such as the Jewish people, have to wear religious clothing, like headwear. So it is wrong to stereotype them with terrorism just because of something that they believe in or wear for their religion. In fact, this has been so blown out of proportion, and many people believe that Muslims are terrorists, that they believe that Muslims are the leading population of terrorists worldwide, when in fact this is wrong, because Muslims only take up 6% of the terrorist population according to FBI terrorism statistics of 2015. After 9/11, it has been known that Muslims have been correlated with terrorists. But this is wrong, because even Americans have agreed that Muslims face the most discrimination out of any other religious group in America. And this right here says a lot, because thinking about America being the melting pot with so many different cultures and religions taking place in America, if Americans are noticing that Muslims are facing the most discrimination, they're being singled out, which is wrong, and they are not terrorists, and they are not a major terrorist population. Many manipulating stories, such as Muslims being the cause of 9/11, which is very false and is not true, and being created false stories. So to solve these issues, using the media would perhaps take care of this issue because of the wide, broad plane of media and how many people have access to stuff like the news, social media, and the internet. But then again, not everyone in the world has access to this, so not everyone will get these bright ideas of Muslims being regular people too, and not terrorists. Also, some may not be willing to put out these accepting and good perceptions of Muslims to the world because they have a certain bias against them, which is unfair. Maybe even keeping the Muslims out of America would be a possible solution, because there would no longer be direct conflict in America between Muslims practicing, and Americans. But this will not be fair to Muslims because they have the right to live in America or visit whenever they like to. And it would also get rid of diversity in America with not having this religion or community in our country. So that's why Americans and Muslims should be more understanding of each other's communities and cultures. Even though some people may not be willing to accept each other's cultures, it will result in less discrimination and prejudice in America if people just understood each other's cultures and gave each other a chance. And it will lead for a happier place and less discrimination. Everyone can at least agree that a better relationship is needed between Muslims and America, because right now it is bad after 9/11 and all the discrimination taking place in America. So a new relationship is needed, and that's where my resolution comes into place, with Americans being more understanding of different religions and cultures, because Muslims will no longer have to live in fear of facing discrimination every day, and there will just be less discrimination as a whole in America if Americans are more understanding and accepting. So I urge you to understand a community before making a perception of them. Actually gather some information and understand what they go through every day before you make perceptions, and make them feel welcome.
Parker, what information did you need before you began your research, and how did that information shape your research?
Well, when I originally started, I was looking into what group I should actually focus on for discrimination and perceptions, and I came upon the Muslim group, which is commonly associated with terrorists. So I needed the information of what Muslims actually were and what they believed in Islam and where it all originated from. And so I looked in deeper into what they actually believed in and found that they're actually a peaceful group. And all these perceptions of them being associated with terrorists and violence isn't actually true. So I needed this background information so I could go through my research and see that they're actually peaceful people and not what all these false perceptions are saying on the media.
How does your conclusion respond to any of the other research or sources you examined?
Other perspectives say that Muslims shouldn't be welcome in America, or that they're dangerous and violent to our community, when in fact they're not. Because my conclusion is saying that Americans just need to be more understanding as a whole and see what Muslims have to go through every day, because they don't know that Muslims practice a peaceful religion and aren't actually harmful at all. But with the media creating these false perceptions, they need to understand this, and instead of just categorizing Muslims as terrorists, they need to see that they actually deal no harm in our peaceful people.